European democracy is under attack, and one of the battlefields, your social media feed. But it's not the only one. We spoke with Tomas Tobé, who has been working on a detailed report about the threats Europe is facing and what needs to be done to protect its democracy.
The last 3 years, we have seen 11 submarine cables sabotaged in the Baltic Sea. We have seen clear election interference within Europe, but also in our candidate countries. We all also have noticed drones that have interfered with our airports.
These events might look unrelated, but they follow a similar pattern. Disruption, confusion, and doubt. And that doubt spreads fast. More and more people feel like they cannot trust anyone or anything. And this is the exact goal of FEMI. Foreign information, manipulation, and interference can silently undermine democracy, eroding trust in elections, institutions, public conversation, and fellow citizens. So who is behind these attacks and why? And if the real target is our trust, what does a working defense even look like? Mr. Tobé, scrolling through our social media feeds today, many people feel like they can't trust what they see anymore. Does this happen to you?
I think it happens to all of us right now because Europe is under attack. The main actors are the Russian troll factories and the Russian bot networks. But we also have other actors like Iran, Belarus, China, and if you mix this with the online platforms that are providing the infrastructure, and these Chinese and American tech giants, they don't take enough responsibility, this becomes a very dangerous cocktail.
So your report identifies a number of serious threats to European democracy. Can you give us some concrete and recent examples?
We saw in the 2024 presidential election in Romania, we had 175,000 spam accounts on TikTok that, of course, was promoting a certain candidate and trying to influence the election. And this is very serious because we don't want foreign malicious countries trying to influence us and try to interfere in our elections.
Do I understand it correctly that you see that these events are all related?
I think it is very clear, and I think we could be rather outspoken about it. Russia doesn't want a strong Europe, doesn't want a united Europe, and they are trying to weaken us, and they are trying to weaken us from within.
In what way is every European affected, even if they don't even notice it?
Well, I think for everyone it's very hard to know today, is this even correct information? And if you start to question that, you start to question, can I trust the institution? Can I trust the society? And that is, of course, not something that we can accept anymore.
Both online and offline, democracy is currently being targeted and threatened. In 2023 and 2024 alone, at least 11 submarine cables were damaged in the Baltic Sea. Arson attacks hit critical European infrastructure, including incendiary devices in Leipzig Airport in 2024. Speaking of airports, in late 2025, a series of unidentified drones forced major European hubs, such as Copenhagen, Brussels, and Munich, to suspend operation for hours. These aren't isolated incidents, but they're part of a coordinated hybrid warfare that targets Europe's digital and physical infrastructure. This is not a challenge any one country can solve alone. When interference spreads across borders and platforms, defending democracy becomes a shared responsibility. This is why the European Parliament is pushing for a coordinated approach, one that focuses on preparedness, operational capacity, and resilience. But what does that mean in practice? And how is the EU trying to fight back? Could you tell us more about what the Parliament and the EU have already worked on so far?
We are trying to counter disinformation. We are building resilience. We are doing our best with the means that we have right now. But my conclusion and the European Parliament conclusion is this is far from enough.
What are EU 3 most effective tools against foreign interference?
Firstly, the Digital Service Act that makes sure that we set the rules of the game on social media here in Europe. that needs to be enforced. Secondly, I would mention our legislation that we have taken on cyber security. And lastly, of course, also on political advertising, that we make sure that foreign actors cannot fund political parties in Europe.
European Democracy Shield. In simple terms, what is it and why do we need it now?
Well, this is a cross-sector initiatives that means that we need to counter the phishing attacks against Europe, but it's also about building resilience in our societies, so we all can get better to also detect when we are faced with disinformation or manipulation, but also that we are more active in the way to make sure that the online platforms also take their responsibility.
What needs to be done to protect elections if we're going into the elections as the heart of our European democracy?
We need a common center to combat disinformation and manipulation campaigns against Europe. We also need to identify our election infrastructure as critical infrastructure. I also think it is important that we become less dependent on foreign digital solutions. For example, if you look at the different cloud services that are being offered, we can see that most of it is outside of Europe. 10% of the cloud solutions are within Europe. And of course, some of the sensitive information that we have in Europe, we could have in those cloud services instead.
Your report talks about moving from defense to offense. What does that mean in practice?
We are quite okay in assessing the disinformation and the manipulation that we see in Europe, but we are mainly reacting. And I think that we need to be more offensive than that in our action. For example, we need to help our candidate countries that are outside of Europe. I mean, they are under a lot of pressure and a lot of phishing. So of course we can do more to support them. I mean, we are a union of values and we need also to promote our values in a better way than we do today.
Europe is fighting back, but foreign interference is evolving fast, using new technologies, new tactics, and old psychological tricks to divide societies and silence public debate. So, does Europe's response match the scale of the threats? You have warned that the EU current level of ambition doesn't fully match the scale of the threats we're facing. What is our current system and why isn't it enough?
I'm proud of what we are doing at European level now. What we need now is proper funding, that we take this serious and that we show that we will not accept this situation anymore in Europe. And that's what I'm hoping to get a broad support for here in the European Parliament, because I think that we need to make sure that we can better support our member states in the Union, and we need to understand that this threat is real.
In May 2025, Parliament adopted a resolution stressing the need for continued budget support for the Democracy Shield. Why is adequate funding critical?
Because if we don't invest more in Europe, for sure our enemies will be more successful. They are investing massively to destabilize Europe. And of course we need to counter that, and we also need to take it more serious than we do today.
You can argue that individual EU countries can't counter these threats effectively on their own. How can we reduce fragmentation?
It's a very good question, because of course, I mean, holding elections is up to every member state, but also if we create a center where we can also spread the knowledge and spread the information between us, of course then we can also protect Europe as a whole. And I think a lot of this is about awareness, building resilience in the society, making sure also that politicians in a way are a bit brave and bold. For example, we cannot let Chinese and American tech giants bully us around in Europe. We decide the rules here in Europe.
And how can the fight against disinformation protect freedom of expression?
For me, it is about to have a free and open debate, but you don't really know who you're debating with today. That is a problem. And you can see that the online platforms are using algorithms in a way that doesn't give a fair debate. For me, it's really about how they try to rig the debate. That needs to change. My goal is I don't want any bots trying to interfere, trying to create more likes for some post that some politician has written. We need to get better at acting on ongoing threats. We should not only assess them after it's happened. We need to be proactive from the beginning.
Disinformation and malign interference are not a passing trend. They are part of a long-term challenge on how democracies function, targeting elections, public debate, and trust in institutions. This is why Europe is responding with new tools and stronger coordination to make our democracy more resilient to interference of any kind. Because a resilient democracy is not one without threats, but one that knows how to face them without losing what makes it democratic. If you want to check how well you can spot disinformation and malign interference, look for our series about different fact-checking techniques on our YouTube channel or on our website. Follow us on social media and let us know what you think about this issue.